They can control Jay Z and Beyoncé,
But not you, man.
but they can't control me. You
Not
see, it
you.
ain't no name I won't name.
Exactly.
It's
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make.
Wait, let's just sit with this for a second. Ye has declared public war on Jay Z and Beyoncé. Not a subliminal, not a passive-aggressive interview dig, a full, direct, naming names war. And the reason this one is different, the reason you should actually be paying attention this time, is because the people inside the couple's world are reportedly taking it seriously, not brushing it off. Not sending out a West is unwell press release. Taking it seriously because the whisper that has been running through industry circles for weeks is that you may know things, real things, things the couple has spent decades burying. Things that, if they ever saw daylight, would not just embarrass them, but crack the whole foundation of the empire they have been building since the 90s. And that right there is the part that makes this whole thing dangerous. Ye is the one person in this industry who is connected enough to know the buried secrets and unhinged enough to say them out loud with no filter, no warning, no concern for what happens next. Which means the greatest threat to their control system is also the easiest target in the world to dismiss as crazy.
they control me. You get what I'm saying? They can control Shaq. They can control Charles Barkley. They can control LeBron James.
That is the trap. That is the whole knot at the center of this thing. If he were stable, he would not be saying any of this. But if he were not saying any of this, nobody would be asking whether he actually knows something. The contradiction is the engine. In a rant a few months ago, he sat in a car and just started listing names. He said Jay Z and Beyoncé are controlled celebrities. Said LeBron James is controlled. Said Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley. Then he went further. He said his own mother was sacrificed as part of a Hollywood pattern. Michael Jordan's father, Dr. Dre's son. He was rattling them off like he had been holding the list in his head for years and finally decided to read it out loud. And then he said the line that should have been the headline everywhere, "I can't be bought." That is what separates him from everyone else in that world. He is not worried about his contracts. He is not worried about his endorsements. He is not worried about being invited to the right parties. And that makes him a kind of threat they have never had to deal with before. So now you have the most powerful couple in music reportedly sitting behind closed doors, trying to figure out how to handle an ex-friend who might know secrets they have spent 30 years protecting. And the only weapon they have against him is the same thing that makes him dangerous in the first place, his instability. Because think about it, if they go after him publicly, they elevate him. If they stay silent, the silence starts to look like fear. The reports leaking out of their camp say they are taking it seriously, not laughing, not dismissing it as West being West. They are reportedly scared of what he might say next. And that one detail, that whisper from inside, is the thing that makes this story feel different from every other time he has gone on a rant. This time, the people who actually know what he might be talking about are the ones who look nervous.
I ain't never been back to the hospital since 2015, but every time they say I'm crazy, it's just when I'm saying the truth.
But here is where it gets wider. Because the reason they are nervous is not just Ye, it is the world around him. The ground under all of them has been shifting for months. In late January, the Department of Justice released millions of pages of Epstein-related documents under Transparency Act that forced everything into public view. Inside those files, Jay Z's name appears, not as a friend of Epstein, not as someone who attended a party. In an FBI crisis intake report from 2019, an anonymous caller described an incident from around 1996 where she said she woke up under the influence in a room where Harvey Weinstein was assaulting her and Jay Z was present. Now, the tip is unverified. The Department of Justice even warned that these raw tip submissions may include fake or falsely submitted material. But that is not the point. The point is that his name is now in a federal file connected to Epstein. And that does not go away. That is on the record. Here is the part that should make you stop. Diddy is already in federal prison, convicted and sentenced to 50 months, sitting in a cell right now. So, the machinery that people whispered about for years, the legal accountability that everyone said would never touch the big names, it is real. It took Diddy down. And now Jay-Z's name is sitting in the same kind of files that started all of that. So, when he starts talking about controlled celebrities and Hollywood sacrifices and says out loud what people have only said in private for years, he is not just ranting into a void. He is speaking into a moment where the legal walls are already closing in on people in his world, and he knows it. In that same rant, he named Meek Mill and Lil Boosie and said they have to stay quiet because they have legal issues and can be controlled. Then he said something cold: "I never took anyone's life." His words. And he meant it literally. He said that means he can say whatever he wants and not go to jail. That is not crazy talk. That is a man who understands exactly how the system works and is telling you that he is the one person in his tax bracket who is not trapped inside it. And that should make you wonder what happens next. Because if he actually knows specific details, if he knows names, dates, and incidents that match up with what is already sitting in those federal files, then the couple is not just dealing with a nuisance. They are dealing with a witness. And they are already maneuvering quietly, but visibly if you know where to look. In early 2026, right around the same time the Epstein files were making headlines, Jay-Z quietly changed the styling of his name to Jay-Z in promotional materials. The umlaut started appearing on anniversary posts for Reasonable Doubt and for the blueprint on Roots picnic announcements. The official explanation came later. It was a tribute to his 1996 debut album, a return to a look he had used 30 years ago. But the timing was impossible to ignore. The internet did not buy it for a second. The memes started immediately. People said he was trying to rebrand himself away from the files, trying to put a little space between his name and the federal document that had just put it in headlines all over the world. And whether that interpretation is fair or not, the fact that the public read it that way tells you everything about where the cultural pressure is sitting right now. When you change your name right after it appears in a scandal file, people are going to notice. They are going to laugh. They are going to wonder what else you are trying to distance yourself from.
People gonna believe what they want to believe anyway, so I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it's just, it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening.
But it is not just the name change. Look at who else is reacting. Lizzo, for some reason, jumped in to defend him in a TikTok video that she later deleted. She made this analogy about stealing an apple and said, "Not everyone in your phone is an accomplice." And then she deleted it. Why? If the defense was so solid, why pull it down? That is the kind of thing that happens when people realize they stepped into something they did not fully understand. And then there is Senator Nancy Mace, a sitting member of Congress, publicly pressing Jay-Z to testify about being named in the Epstein files. That is not online chatter. That is a government official calling for him to sit in front of Congress and answer questions. That is institutional pressure. That is the kind of thing that does not happen unless people in power believe there is enough there to demand answers. And through all of this, the couple has said nothing. Not one public response to Ye. Not one statement about the Epstein file mention. No victory lap. No angry denial, just silence. And in this world, silence can mean a lot of things. It can mean confidence that the story will blow over. It can mean waiting for the legal team to handle things behind closed doors. But it can also mean fear, because if they speak, they risk making it worse. If they attack Ye, they risk proving his point. If they try to explain the timing of the name change or the FBI tip or the Diddy connection, they risk opening a door they have spent decades trying to keep locked. So they sit, and Ye keeps talking, and the whole thing sits in this unstable middle space where nobody knows which way it is going to break. Now, here is where it gets darker. There are other people who have tried to talk about this world before. Ron Smith, known as Uncle Ron, was a former bodyguard for Diddy. He went on social media in early 2023 and made claims about Beyoncé being controlled. He said Jay Z and Diddy were involved in things people have whispered about for years, and then he went quiet. Then in September 2024, he resurfaced with new claims, and within 24 hours, he was deceased. The official cause? Pneumonia. But the timing is the kind of thing that makes people ask questions. There is no proof of foul play, no evidence that anyone did anything to him. But the pattern is there. The pattern is that speaking against certain people in this world comes with a kind of risk that normal celebrity gossip does not carry. And that pattern is why people are watching you differently now. because he is not a former bodyguard with a small following. He is Ye. He has a massive platform. He has an audience that listens. And he is still talking.
Second option, I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to zombie land for.
So what are we supposed to do with that? You have a man who says he knows secrets. You have a couple who is reportedly scared of what he knows. You have federal files that put the husband's name in an Epstein-adjacent document. You have a close associate of theirs already in federal prison. You have a sitting senator demanding testimony. You have a name change that looks like an attempt to rebrand away from scandal. You have a defender who deleted her defense. And you have a pattern of people who spoke up and then disappeared from the conversation. That is not one thing. That is a pile of things. And the pile keeps getting bigger. Here is what we know for certain right now. He has not revealed his most damaging information yet. Whatever he claims to know, he has only gestured at it so far. He has named the framework, controlled celebrities, sacrifices, but he has not dropped the kind of specific detail that would turn speculation into something law enforcement could not ignore. That means the threat is still active. He still has ammunition in his pocket. And the couple, from everything we can see, is still reacting like people who believe that ammunition is real. That is the standoff. That is the story. It is not over. It is not resolved. And the question that hangs over all of it is simple. Is he going to actually say what he knows? Or is someone going to find a way to silence him before he gets the chance? Because if the past year has taught us anything, it is that the machinery that protects people at this level has a long reach. And the people who have tried to speak before have a habit of disappearing from the conversation. Sometimes quietly, sometimes in ways that make people ask questions nobody ever answers. The machine has been running a long time, longer than most people want to admit. And if you want to understand why Ye is still talking while everyone else seems to have disappeared, you have to look at the ones who came before him. The ones who tried to say things and then found themselves on the other side of a very quiet, very effective system. Take Ron Smith, Uncle Ron. He worked inside as a bodyguard for Diddy. He was in the rooms. He saw things. In early 2023, he started posting on social media. He made claims about people being controlled, about the way the industry worked. Nothing that stopped the world, but enough that people noticed. Then he went quiet. Then in September 2024, right as the Diddy case was peaking, he came back. He had new things to say, and within 24 hours, he was gone. Pneumonia, they said. Maybe that is all it was. But when a man resurfaces to talk about powerful people and then passes away the next day, you do not have to believe in anything elaborate to feel the weight of that timing. It makes everyone else who might talk think very carefully about whether they want to be next. Now add Jaguar Wright to the list. She has been saying things for years, allegations, claims, the kind of things that make lawyers pick up the phone. She went on Piers Morgan's show and said them on a major platform. And then the phone rang. Jay Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, sent what has been described as an ultimatum. Remove the false accusations or a court will order you to. Piers Morgan edited the interview. The segment came out. Wright is still walking around, but the message was delivered. You can talk, but there is a mechanism for making you stop. It is expensive. It is effective. So now you have a pattern. One man speaks and then passes away. Another woman speaks and gets legally pushed into silence. And the question that hangs over both of them is the same one that hangs over everyone else who might be watching. What happens to the ones who keep going?
It's just he's Kanye West, so it's like relentless. I was like, yeah, popcorn.
Diddy is the answer to that question because Diddy did not get silenced. He got arrested. He got tried. He got convicted, 50 months in federal prison, sitting in a cell right now. His lawyers filed an appeal in March of this year, asking for immediate release, calling his sentence a perversion of justice. But he is still there. And the details from that case are the kind that do not fade. During the raids on his homes, investigators found more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. They found 3 AR-15 rifles with defaced serial numbers. Those details become permanent. They become part of how people see you. And when you look at the three of them together, Uncle Ron, Jaguar right, Diddy, you start to see a gradient: silence, threat, prison. That is the spectrum. Then you look at Ye, who is still out there saying things that would make most people in his position go underground, and you realize he is operating outside that spectrum. The question is whether that protects him or whether it just means he is at the top of a very different list. But the machinery is not just legal, it is also patient. Look at the paternity claim that has been following Jay Z for more than a decade. A man named R.Y. Satwait says Jay Z is his father. His mother, Wanda, signed a sworn affidavit before she passed, saying she had a relationship with Jay Z in 1992 when she was 16. The case has been through courts in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It has been dismissed. It has been refiled. It keeps coming back. In 2025, Satwait filed a new lawsuit alleging fraud in the court proceedings, saying his rights were violated through sealed records and wrongful sanctions. And here is the part that matters. He has been trying to get a paternity test for years. Jay Z has never taken one. He has never publicly acknowledged the claim. And the pattern from those legal fights, the dismissals, the jurisdiction arguments, the sealed records, looks a lot like the pattern from the Jaguar right situation. When someone gets too close, the system does not always threaten them. Sometimes it just buries them in paperwork. It waits them out. It lets the years pass until the story stops being new. That is how you silence someone without ever saying a word.
I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
And then there is the history that keeps resurfacing at the worst possible moments. Jay Z has a documented past that does not fit the image. In 1999, he stabbed a record producer named Lance Rivera. He turned himself in and pleaded guilty. He got 3 years of probation. That is on the record. That is not a rumor. When he was 12 years old, he shot his own brother over a ring. His brother did not press charges, but the story has been out there for years. He has talked about it himself, describing it as a terrible moment. But here is what happens when those facts sit alongside the current situation. They become context. They become pattern. They become the thing people point to when they ask whether the polished version of Jay Z is the real version or the managed version. The stabbing conviction came up in coverage of the Epstein files. The shooting of his brother came up in conversations about his temper. The facts are not hidden. They are just buried under decades of good press and business success. And every time the story gets hot, they come back up. Now look at how people around them react when the pressure builds. Lizzo posted a TikTok video after the Epstein files came out. She made an analogy about stealing an apple and said, "Not everyone in your phone is an accomplice." She was trying to defend Jay Z and then deleted the video. If the defense was solid, why pull it down? That is the moment someone realizes they stepped into something bigger than they understood. And then there is 50 Cent, who is doing the opposite. He has been trolling Jay Z relentlessly. He posted pictures of Jay Z and Diddy together with the caption, "Friends till the end. Jay, you still there?" He brought up the Kid Cudi car explosion, which Cassie alleged in her lawsuit that Diddy was behind. 50 Cent is not a random account. He is a major figure in the same industry with his own platform and his own grudges. And he is making it clear that he is watching. That is pressure from inside the house, not from outsiders, but from someone who knows how the game is played and is not afraid to laugh while he points. And then there is the outside pressure that no one can ignore. Senator Nancy Mace, a sitting member of Congress, publicly pressed Jay Z to testify about being named in the Epstein files. That is not a blogger. That is not a fan account. That is an elected official with subpoena power. She stood up and said he should have to answer questions. That changes the dynamic. It stops being about gossip and starts being about accountability. And the couple has been ignoring it. No statement, no denial, no explanation, just silence. But silence looks different when a senator is calling for testimony. It starts to look less like confidence and more like calculation, or fear, or both. So where does this leave ye? He is not the beginning of this story. He is the latest chapter in a pattern that has been running for years. There was Uncle Ron, who passed away after speaking. There was Jaguar Wright, who was legally threatened into silence. There is R.Y. Satwait, who has been fighting for acknowledgement for over a decade with no resolution. There is Diddy, sitting in federal prison. And then there is Ye, who is still out there, still talking, still refusing to be bought. He is not the only one who has tried to say things. He is just the only one who has not been stopped yet. And that changes how you have to read the situation. It is not just about whether Ye is credible. It is about what happened to everyone else who tried to be credible. They are either gone, threatened, locked up, or waiting in legal limbo. Ye is the outlier. And the question is whether his outlier status is what protects him or what makes him the next target.
And I wouldn't be here. And on the news, they would have said it was because of a mental issue.
But here is the part that should make you pause. Ye has not dropped the most specific details yet. Whatever he knows, he has only gestured at it. He has named the framework, but he has not given the kind of granular information that would force law enforcement to act. That means he still has something to say. That means the threat is still active. And the people who have been watching this pattern unfold, the ones who know what happened to Uncle Ron, to Jaguar Wright, to Diddy, are all waiting to see what happens next. Because if he keeps talking, he is testing whether the machinery that stopped everyone else can stop him. And if it cannot, then the whole pattern breaks, the silence breaks, the fear breaks, and that is when everything changes. This is where the story sits right now. You have a pattern of people who spoke and were silenced. You have a sitting senator demanding answers. You have a man who says he knows secrets and has not yet been stopped. You have a former friend who is trolling from the inside. You have a paternity claim that keeps resurfacing. You have a stabbing conviction that will never leave the record. And through all of it, the most powerful couple in music has said nothing. They have not defended themselves. They have not explained. They have not gone on the offensive. They have just waited. And in a situation like this, waiting starts to feel like something. It starts to feel like they are waiting for you to slip, or waiting for the public to move on, or waiting for something else. But the thing about waiting is that it only works if nothing new happens, and something new keeps happening. So what do you think happens from here? Does he eventually drop the details he has been hinting at? Or does the pattern hold and he gets silenced before he can? And if he does speak, does anyone finally listen? Or does the machinery just keep running the same way it has for 30 years? Drop what you think in the comments. This one is not over. Not even close.